Awareness is the foundation of all transformation. It is the silent witness that sees without judgment, the quiet observer that stands behind every thought, every feeling, and every reaction. Most people live their lives unaware, drifting from one mood to another, tossed around by inner storms they don't understand. One moment they feel peace, the next they are lost in anger, sadness, or anxiety. They try to fight these moods, to escape them, to hide them behind distractions. But true mastery begins the moment you stop running and start watching. To be aware means to become still inside, to look directly at what is happening within you without labeling it as good or bad. Imagine you are sitting by a river, watching the water flow. The current represents your emotions, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent. If you step into the river, you are swept away by its force. But if you sit on the bank and observe, you begin to understand the nature of the flow. You see where it begins, how it moves, and where it fades. The river no longer controls you. Your awareness of it gives you power. This is the art of awareness, learning to stay on the bank of your inner river. When anger arises, most people either explode or suppress it. One reaction burns the world, the other burns the self. Awareness allows a third way, to simply see it. To feel its heat without being consumed by it. To say silently, "This is anger. It is here. I am watching." The moment you recognize your emotion, a subtle distance appears between you and it. That distance is freedom. Every emotion has a life cycle. It rises, peaks, and falls. If you watch carefully, you will notice that no feeling, no matter how strong, lasts forever. It only grows in strength when you resist it or feed it with more thought. When you are aware, you don't add fuel to the fire. You let it burn out naturally. You become like the sky that watches clouds pass by. The clouds may darken, but the sky remains untouched. Most people mistake themselves for their moods. When sadness comes, they say, "I am sad." When anger comes, "I am angry." But that is not true. You are not the sadness. You are the one who feels sadness. You are not the anger. You are the one who observes anger. Just as the ocean is not defined by the waves on its surface, you are not defined by the temporary storms within you. Awareness reminds you of this truth. To cultivate awareness, you must slow down. You must begin to listen to the subtle movements of your inner world. In the beginning, it feels difficult. The mind resists stillness because it has grown addicted to noise, to constant doing, to running away from itself. But the moment you sit quietly and breathe, you start to feel the landscape of your own being. The rhythm of your heart, the flow of your breath, the tension in your shoulders, the thoughts that come and go like travelers on a busy street. Do not try to change anything, just observe. Observation is not passivity, it is presence. When you are aware, you see clearly what needs attention and what needs to be released. You begin to understand that many of your moods are simply echoes of thoughts you have carried for too long. You notice how one small worry can ripple into frustration, how one careless word can awaken insecurity. Awareness turns unconscious reactions into conscious choices, and in that awareness, your energy starts to shift. There is a deep intelligence in awareness. It doesn't require effort, only honesty. When you are honest enough to face what is within you, life begins to teach you directly. You start to notice patterns. Maybe your mood changes every time you skip rest. Maybe certain people drain your peace. Maybe a specific memory still holds power over you. Without awareness, these patterns control you. With awareness, you start to see them, and what is seen can be changed. Think of awareness as light. In a dark room, you stumble and fall because you cannot see where you are going. When the light comes on, the obstacles are still there, but now you can move around them with ease. Awareness doesn't remove the challenges of life. It helps you see them clearly so you can move through them with grace. To strengthen your awareness, start with small moments. When you eat, really taste the food. Feel its texture, its warmth, its aroma. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet, the rhythm of your steps, the air against your skin. When you speak, listen not only to your words, but to the intention behind them. Each time you bring your attention back to the present, you are building the muscle of awareness. Awareness is not something you gain through reading or hearing about it. It is something you practice. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You begin to carry awareness into every situation. You feel anger, but do not lose yourself in it. You experience sadness, but do not drown in it. You feel joy, but do not cling to it. You become the steady center amidst all movement. When you start living with awareness, life changes in subtle but powerful ways. You begin to respond instead of react. You start seeing emotions as visitors, not masters. You realize that moods are not your identity, but temporary expressions of your inner weather. You stop asking, "Why am I feeling like this?" and begin asking, "What is this feeling trying to teach me?" This shift in attitude turns every emotion into a teacher. And perhaps the greatest gift of awareness is that it brings compassion. When you can observe your own moods without judgment, you begin to understand others more deeply. You see that their anger, fear, or sadness are not who they are. They are simply moments of clouded awareness. Instead of reacting to their moods, you start responding from clarity and calm. Your awareness becomes not only your own peace, but also a light for those around you. Awareness is simple, yet it is the rarest quality in this world, because most people prefer comfort over clarity. They prefer distraction over observation. But awareness demands courage, the courage to see yourself as you are, without masks, without excuses. And in that courage you find truth. When you cultivate awareness, you no longer need to fight your moods. You no longer fear their arrival. You watch them come and go, learning from each one, growing through each experience. Eventually, awareness becomes your natural state, like the clear sky that remains vast and still, no matter how many clouds pass by. The secret is this: you cannot control the weather, but you can learn to remain the sky. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to surf them with grace. You cannot prevent moods from changing, but you can remain aware through all their changes. And in that awareness, something beautiful happens. You begin to experience peace not as an emotion, but as your very nature. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on external conditions, the kind of calm that exists even in the midst of chaos. That is the essence of true mastery, to be deeply aware, fully alive, and quietly at peace, no matter what arises within or around you. Understanding is the doorway to freedom. It is the moment when you stop fighting what you feel and begin to listen to it. Every emotion that visits you carries a message. Anger, sadness, anxiety, peace. They are not random moods that appear without reason. They are signals guiding you toward a deeper truth about yourself. Yet most people rush to silence them, to push them away, or to drown them beneath distractions. They forget that what they resist persists. The emotion doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It hides within, waiting for another chance to be seen. To understand your moods, you must first stop treating them as enemies. Every mood is a mirror. It reflects something happening in the mind, the body, or the soul. When you feel heavy without reason, it may not be that something is wrong. It may be that something inside you is asking to be heard. Sometimes the root of a mood is physical: fatigue, hunger, imbalance in the body's rhythm. Sometimes it's emotional: old pain that was never healed, or a need that was never expressed. And sometimes it's energetic: you absorb the tension, the energy, and even the silence of others around you. Life is constantly speaking to you through the language of feeling. When you feel uneasy, it's not a punishment. It's a signal that something is out of harmony. But to hear this language, you must become quiet inside. The mind, when restless, interprets emotion as chaos. The mind wants to label, "This is bad, I shouldn't feel like this." Yet understanding begins where judgment ends. Sit with your emotions as you would with an old friend. Do not interrogate them. Do not demand that they leave. Just listen. Ask quietly, "What are you trying to show me?" You may be surprised by what you discover. Perhaps your anger is not about the situation in front of you, but a memory of being unheard years ago. Perhaps your sadness is not weakness, but the soul's way of softening you, teaching you empathy. When you begin to look beneath the surface, you realize that every emotion carries wisdom. Many people believe that happiness should be constant. They see sadness as a failure, anger as a flaw, fear as weakness. But these are natural states of the human experience. Just as the seasons change, so does your inner climate. Understanding means accepting this flow. There is no summer without winter, no light without shadow. When you understand that your moods are part of a larger balance, you stop trying to cling to pleasure or run from pain. You learn to walk with both gracefully. Imagine you are standing in front of a tree. You see the leaves trembling in the wind. That's the mood, the visible expression. But if you trace your gaze down to the trunk, then deeper into the soil, you will find the roots. The roots are your beliefs, your memories, your habits, your unspoken truths. Every mood grows from these roots. If you want to change how you feel, you must go beneath the surface and tend to the roots. Otherwise, you will keep cutting leaves that grow back in new forms. To understand your moods, you must also understand your lifestyle. The way you breathe, eat, sleep, and move has a profound influence on your emotional state. When the body is neglected, the mind becomes unstable. When the breath is shallow, the energy becomes blocked. And when the energy is blocked, emotions stagnate. So understanding is not just mental, it is holistic. It is the awareness that the mind, body, and spirit are not separate. They are one system, constantly communicating. Think about how differently you feel after deep rest, a quiet walk, or time in nature. The heaviness fades and clarity returns. This is not coincidence. The body is cleansing, the mind is resetting, and the emotions are releasing. When you live disconnected from this natural rhythm, moods fluctuate wildly because your inner system is not aligned. So understanding means listening not only to your thoughts, but also to your body and the world around you. You may notice patterns. Perhaps every time you ignore your need for silence, frustration builds. Every time you overextend yourself to please others, resentment grows. Every time you avoid solitude, anxiety increases. These patterns are teachers. They reveal the relationship between your actions and your emotions. Once you see them clearly, you can choose differently. Without understanding, you repeat. With understanding, you evolve. There are emotions that seem to return again and again. like waves that never stop hitting the shore. You may ask, why does this always happen to me? But the question is not why me. The question is, what have I not yet understood? A lesson repeats until it is learned. Once the message of an emotion is understood, it no longer needs to return in the same way. Understanding also means recognizing that not every mood belongs entirely to you. Sometimes you absorb the energy of others, their stress, their sadness, their unrest, especially when your heart is open and sensitive. Awareness helps you discern what is yours and what is borrowed. When you feel heavy, ask yourself, is this feeling truly mine? If not, release it gently. You do not have to carry what is not yours. Deep understanding brings compassion for yourself and for others. When you see the roots of your own moods, you stop judging those who are lost in theirs. You realize that anger is often pain disguised as power, that sadness is love-seeking expression, that fear is a desire for safety. You begin to look beyond behavior and into the heart, and when you can see others with understanding, you bring healing not only to them, but to yourself. In truth, your emotions are not obstacles, they are pathways. Each one guides you toward a deeper connection with who you really are. When joy arises, it shows you where you are aligned. When anger appears, it points to a boundary that has been crossed. When sadness comes, it asks you to release what no longer serves you. Every mood, when understood, becomes a map, guiding you closer to balance, authenticity, and peace. There is wisdom even in darkness. The night does not destroy the sun. It allows it to rest and rise again. In the same way, a heavy mood is not the end. It is a passage. Understanding turns every emotional night into a dawn. You begin to trust the rhythm of your inner world, knowing that everything you feel has a reason and a season. So when your mood changes, do not rush to fix it. Be curious. What is life trying to tell you right now? What have you ignored that now demands your attention? What truth are you ready to face? Understanding is not about controlling your emotions. It is about learning from them. When you learn, the emotion completes its purpose and moves on. Understanding yourself is the deepest form of wisdom. It is not gained through books or theories, but through gentle observation of your own being. The more you understand yourself, the more peace you find in others. The more you understand your moods, the less they control you. You become like a tree, deeply rooted, flexible in the wind, unshaken by passing storms. The secret is not to chase happiness or avoid pain, but to understand both. Because in true understanding, you find balance. You find the quiet strength to remain centered even when life moves unpredictably. You stop asking life to be easy and start asking yourself to be clear. And when clarity is there, you realize something profound, that your moods do not define you. They are passing weather in the vast sky of your being. You are not the clouds. You are the awareness that sees them. And in that awareness, through deep understanding, you finally return home to yourself, to stillness, to peace. Discipline is the bridge between knowledge and transformation. It is the silent force that shapes who you become. Without discipline, even the deepest understanding remains only an idea. You may read, reflect, and recognize your moods, but if you do not train yourself daily, the storms within will continue to toss you around. Discipline is not about punishment or restriction. It is the art of alignment between what you know and what you live. Every person wants peace, balance, and strength, but few are willing to build the foundation that supports these states. They wait for peace to arrive instead of creating it. They hope for stability while their habits feed chaos. Discipline changes that. It transforms intention into action, thought into experience, and potential into power. It is the quiet repetition of small choices that leads to mastery. To master your moods, you must train three things: the body, the breath, and the mind. These three are the pillars that hold your inner balance. When one of them is weak, the others become unstable. If your body is neglected, the mind becomes restless. If the breath is shallow, the emotions become unsteady. If the mind is undisciplined, the spirit loses direction. Discipline is the harmony that binds all three together. The training of the body begins with respect. Your body is the temple through which you experience the world. When you care for it, your emotions find a stable home. When you neglect it, your moods swing like a pendulum. Movement brings energy into flow, whether through martial arts, yoga, running, or simple stretching. Physical discipline is not just for strength, it is for awareness. When you move consciously, you learn to feel your body as it truly is, not just a collection of muscles and bones, but a living expression of energy. Many emotional imbalances are stored in the body. Anger sits in the chest, fear in the stomach, sadness in the shoulders. When you move with awareness, you begin to release what was trapped inside. The body becomes light, and the mind follows. The connection is direct. You cannot feel emotionally clear in a body filled with tension. That is why daily physical training, even for a few minutes, is essential. It teaches you consistency, patience, and presence. The second training is the breath. The breath is the bridge between body and mind. It reflects your inner state. When you are anxious, the breath becomes short. When you are calm, it becomes deep. Most people breathe unconsciously, allowing their emotions to control their rhythm. But when you control your breath, you begin to influence your emotions. Every breath carries energy known as life force. When you breathe deeply and slowly, you collect this energy. When you breathe shallowly, you lose it. A disciplined person trains their breath every day, not only during meditation, but throughout life. You can begin by simply becoming aware of your breathing. Feel it entering and leaving through the nose. Notice the pauses between each breath. In that simple awareness, your mind begins to quiet down. Breathing is not something you do once to feel better. It is a practice that shapes your entire state of being. If your breath is calm, your emotions soften. If your breath is steady, your mind becomes focused. If your breath is deep, your energy expands. To train the breath is to train your mood from its root. The third and most important training is the mind. The mind is like a wild horse, powerful but easily distracted. Without discipline, it runs toward every thought, every memory, every fear. And wherever the mind goes, your energy follows. That is why people lose balance so easily, not because life is difficult, but because their minds are undisciplined. To discipline the mind means to bring it under your awareness. Meditation is one of the oldest and most direct ways to do this. It is not about stopping thoughts, but about learning to sit with them, to watch them rise and fall like waves on the sea. In the beginning, the mind will resist. It will wander, argue, create stories. But if you stay still, if you continue to return your focus to your breath or to the present moment, the mind slowly begins to obey. It learns that not every thought requires attention. With time, this practice gives you immense power. When an emotion arises, anger, sadness, anxiety, the mind no longer reacts instantly. It pauses. It observes. That pause is the seed of mastery. It is the moment between impulse and action where freedom lives. Through discipline, this pause grows longer and more natural. You stop being controlled by moods because your awareness has become stronger than your reactions. But discipline is not something you practice only in silence. True discipline shows itself in the smallest choices of everyday life. When you rise early instead of staying in comfort, you strengthen your will. When you eat mindfully instead of indulging without thought, you sharpen your awareness. When you finish what you start, you build reliability within yourself. Every act of discipline, no matter how small, strengthens your inner structure. Discipline is not about rigidity. It is about stability. A disciplined person is not cold or emotionless. They simply do not collapse under the weight of temporary feelings. They move with intention, speak with awareness, and live with purpose. Their emotions may still rise and fall, but their center remains unshaken. That is the gift of training, not to eliminate emotion, but to remain balanced through it. Consistency is the soul of discipline. One great effort will not change you. 1,000 small, steady steps will. The mind loves excitement, but mastery grows through repetition. You may not see change after one day of training, but the process is already at work. Just as a tree grows silently beneath the soil before breaking through the ground, your inner transformation unfolds quietly through practice. There will be days when you feel no motivation, when your mood resists your practice. That is the moment when discipline reveals its true strength. Discipline does not depend on how you feel. It depends on what you have committed to. You train not because you are inspired, but because it is who you are becoming. When you act from discipline rather than mood, you gain control over the very force that once controlled you. Remember, discipline and freedom are not opposites, they are partners. Discipline is the path that leads to true freedom. Without it, you are a prisoner of your emotions, your thoughts, and your habits. With it, you are the master of your own being. You are no longer moved by every external wave. You move from within, guided by purpose and clarity. Every great transformation begins with a decision, the decision to stay consistent even when no one is watching, even when results are not yet visible. Discipline builds trust between you and yourself. You begin to believe in your own strength. You learn that stability is not given, it is earned through practice. Train your body until it moves with ease. Train your breath until it flows with calm. Train your mind until it rests in silence. When these three come together, balance is born, and from balance comes clarity, from clarity comes strength, and from strength comes peace. Discipline does not make you rigid, it makes you resilient. It allows you to remain calm in the chaos, focused in distraction, and grounded in uncertainty. So each morning, return to your practice, move, breathe, sit in silence. It does not matter how short or imperfect it feels. What matters is that you return. Because every return is a victory over the old self. Every return is a reminder that you are not your mood, not your fear, not your distraction. You are the one who trains through them. In time, discipline becomes effortless. What once felt like effort becomes your nature. You no longer struggle to maintain balance. You are balance. That is when discipline transforms into harmony, not something you do, but something you are. The storms of emotion still come and go, but you remain unmoved, like a mountain rooted in stillness. That is the true power of discipline. It turns fleeting awareness into lasting strength, temporary calm into permanent peace. It makes you the master of your moods, not by force, but by unwavering consistency. And once that mastery is born within you, no external force can take it away. Alignment is the silent harmony between your thoughts, actions, and inner truth. It is the invisible thread that holds your energy together, the state in which what you think, what you say, and what you do all move in the same direction. When these parts of you are aligned, peace arises naturally. When they are divided, tension is born. Many of the emotional storms people experience are not caused by the world outside, but by the conflict that lives within, the distance between who they are and who they pretend to be, between what they feel and what they show. When you are out of alignment, your moods become unpredictable. You feel lost, restless, or drained, even when life seems fine on the surface. You begin to sense an emptiness that no success or distraction can fill. This happens because your soul is pulling you one way, while your habits pull you another. The outer world may not see this conflict, but inside you feel it deeply. Alignment is not about perfection, it is about honesty. It is about living in a way that reflects your deepest values, even when no one is watching. Every person has an inner compass, a quiet sense of what feels right and what does not. But in the noise of life, that compass often gets ignored. You start saying yes when your heart says no. You follow the crowd when your soul whispers to stand alone. You keep moving fast because the world praises speed, even when your spirit is asking for stillness. Over time, this disconnection becomes emotional weight. You start waking up tired even after rest because your energy is spent fighting yourself. The path back to alignment begins with awareness. You must stop running long enough to listen. Ask yourself with honesty, am I living in a way that honors my truth? Not the truth you tell others, the truth you whisper to yourself at night. When your outer life no longer reflects your inner values, imbalance appears. That imbalance is what people call mood swings, anxiety, confusion, or sadness. These are not punishments, they are messages. Your emotions are not betraying you, they are guiding you back to alignment. Think of your life as an instrument. If one string is too tight or too loose, the sound becomes distorted. No matter how skillful the player, harmony is impossible without tuning. The same is true within you. When your words don't match your intentions, when your work doesn't match your purpose, when your relationships don't match your values, the music of your life loses its beauty. To live in alignment is to tune yourself daily, to check whether your actions, choices, and energy are in tune with your deepest truth. Alignment is not about forcing yourself into a fixed path. It is about finding the natural rhythm of your being. Just as the ocean does not fight the tide, you do not fight life when you are aligned. You flow with it. When your energy is aligned, decisions become clear, relationships become lighter, and your moods become stable. You stop overthinking because your heart and mind move together. There is no internal war to exhaust you. This harmony cannot be found in external achievements. Many people chase goals that have nothing to do with their real purpose. They accumulate wealth but lose meaning, seek recognition but lose peace. The world may applaud them, but deep down they feel hollow. Because alignment cannot be replaced by success. Success without alignment is noise. Success with alignment is music. To live in alignment, you must first know yourself, not the version you present to others, but the one that exists when you are alone. What truly matters to you? What gives you energy instead of draining it? What kind of person do you want to be when no one is watching? These questions lead you inward. beyond the roles and expectations that society has built around you. Without this inner clarity, you end up living someone else's life, chasing dreams that aren't yours, walking paths that don't belong to your feet. When you act out of alignment, your body feels it before your mind does. The tension in your chest, the heaviness in your stomach, the restlessness in your sleep, these are all signals from within. Your system knows when something isn't true for you, but many ignore these signs, numbing themselves with distraction. Alignment requires courage, the courage to stop, to listen, and to make changes even when they are uncomfortable. Because to live in truth often means to walk away from what is familiar. Sometimes alignment demands solitude. You may have to distance yourself from people who no longer share your values, from environments that drain your energy, from habits that keep you small. This is not selfishness, it is self-respect. When you live out of alignment for too long, you start to shrink to fit spaces that were never meant for you. But when you choose alignment, you expand. You begin to move in harmony with life's natural rhythm, not against it. Alignment also means balance. You cannot stay centered if one part of your life dominates the rest. Work without rest leads to exhaustion. Giving without receiving leads to emptiness. Thinking without feeling leads to confusion. The balanced life is not about doing everything, but about doing what is necessary with full presence. When you are aligned, your energy becomes focused, and focused energy is powerful. Your moods often mirror how aligned you are. When your actions and values match, you feel light. When they clash, you feel disturbed. Even small compromises, when repeated, build inner conflict. You might tell yourself it's just one time, but your soul keeps count. Every time you ignore your inner truth, a part of you becomes silent. Over time, this silence turns into sadness that you cannot explain. The only cure for that sadness is realignment, to begin living truthfully again. To realign, you do not need to change everything overnight. Begin with small acts of integrity. Say what you mean. Keep your word. Do what you promise yourself you will do. Listen to your body's needs instead of forcing it. Speak the truth even when your voice trembles. Each small act of alignment repairs the cracks within. You begin to trust yourself again. As you grow in alignment, your outer world begins to shift. The people, places, and opportunities that no longer resonate will naturally fall away. It may feel like loss at first, but it is actually purification. Life removes what is false to make space for what is real. When you live truthfully, your energy becomes magnetic. You start attracting peace instead of chasing it. In alignment, emotions find their natural rhythm. You will still experience joy and sorrow, but they will not pull you off balance. You understand that both are waves in the same ocean. You remain the ocean, vast, deep, unbroken. The surface may change, but the depth remains still. That stillness is the sign of alignment. It is the peace that does not depend on mood or circumstance. When you are aligned, you do not need to seek approval. You do not bend to fit expectations. You move with quiet confidence, knowing that what you do, say, and feel are one. You become like a tree whose roots are deep in truth, flexible in the wind but never uprooted. This is the essence of inner freedom. Alignment is not a final destination, it is a daily practice. Every day you tune yourself again, adjusting, listening, correcting. Some days you drift, other days you return, but as long as you keep returning, you are growing. The journey itself becomes sacred. There comes a point when you realize that peace is not something you find outside, but something you build inside through alignment. Every time you act in harmony with your truth, you strengthen that peace. Every time you betray your truth, you weaken it. The choice is always yours. So, live in a way that your heart can rest. Speak words that feel honest. Take actions that match your purpose. Surround yourself with what nourishes your spirit. The more aligned you become, the lighter your life feels. You stop chasing happiness because alignment itself becomes happiness. And when your thoughts, words, and actions move together like a single breath, your moods settle, your energy flows freely, and your presence becomes peaceful. You no longer search for balance, you are balance. You no longer try to control life, you flow with it. That is the quiet power of alignment, to live so truthfully that even your silence feels whole.